I'm definitely gonna do that.
Right out of the gate. There we go.
Right out of the gate, just flipped right over it. Again, in 3, 2, 1.
Hello? Are you ready? Yes. Then we'll begin.
It's the most wonderful time of the church's year, and the entire gang is here so that we can talk about it. Welcome to Monday Morning Catholic, episode 66, our special Triduum edition.
Let the powers of heaven exult. Let choirs of angels dance for joy. Let all creation raise its song of praise. Jesus Christ is risen.
Jesus Christ is risen.
Jesus Christ is risen.
Jesus Christ is risen. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to our special Triduum edition of Monday Morning Catholic. I am your host and moderator, Joanne Mercier, and hail, hail, the gang's all here. Yay! And for the first time, we are hearing the Alleluia. Yay. I don't know what happened there. As we welcome our entire panel to the podcast. Of course, Linda Reed is here from St. Thomas Parish in Providence, Rhode Island. Good morning, Linda. How you doing?
Good morning. And if we're talking about Easter Monday, I'm probably half dead.
Okay. That's usually how everybody is on Easter Monday morning. Christ is risen, and we are
dead. We are dead, yes.
Of course. Also dead tired over at St. Teresa's and St. Christopher's in Tiverton, Rhode Island. We have Nancy Smith. Good morning, Nancy. How you doing?
Good morning, everybody. I'm in my recliner, but I dare not recline back.
No, because you'll probably flip right over on that thing.
Exactly.
I know it well. And down in Bristol, Steve Romano, Our Lady of Mount Carmel Parish. Good morning, Stephen. How you doing?
I'm doing fine because I didn't have to cook. So
well, there you go. And see, that's the thing. Most of the time, the men just go and do Easter.
I just show up. Show up.
And the rest of the time, the women have to go back home and cook.
And cook, exactly.
Yes. So you wonder why on Easter morning we're like absolutely, extremely exhausted. That nothing can get us up at all. Nothing at all. Unless it's an earthquake.
Or a funeral.
That too.
I've been there too.
That'll get you up. Anyway, this may not be airing on Easter Monday morning, but it may be airing a little sooner. But we wanted to take an opportunity to record something so that all of us could go about our Father's business without having to worry about having to come together and find a time to do a podcast. So, but we didn't want to deprive you, our faithful viewers and listeners, of our dulcet tones for a whole week. So here we are, and what we're going to do today, normally we just look back at the weekend's liturgies, but this is, there's so much here, none of us could even remember it, even if we tried to record it. So we're just going to take a special look at the Triduum liturgies, per se. This is not our first time at the rodeo for any of us. So we've been doing this for years, and we have some funny stories, some poignant, revelations to pass along. And it's my favorite season. I don't know about anybody else, but
definitely.
It's absolutely my favorite season of the church's year, even though it's 3 days long. Probably that's a good thing. So when we want to talk about, how a lot of work goes into this to make the liturgies and the music move and sound effortless. Believe me, this just doesn't happen because you only see these liturgies once a year. So there's a lot of rehearsal that goes into it. So please grab that chocolate Easter bunny, bite off that ear, and join us as we take a look at the liturgies of the Triduum. And Triduum, again, goes from Thursday night to Easter Sunday at dusk.
Vespers on Easter Sunday.
If we're going to actually make it all of that. But first of all, however, if you were to look at the Roman Missal for Thursday of Holy Week, which is Holy Thursday, the very first Mass that comes up is the Chrism Mass. And the Chrism Mass, for most people now, does not get celebrated even on Thursday anymore.
No.
It's celebrated, I know in Providence, it's celebrated on Monday night.
It was last night, yeah.
Yep, Holy Week. So now you know when we're recording, Tuesday. Holy Week. The Archdiocese of Boston, theirs is Tuesday morning of Holy Week. The Diocese of Fall River is in
Afternoon.
is Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah.
So they're all different times, and mostly because it is very difficult to get all the men together on the morning of Holy Thursday, especially if your diocese is spread out. And I do know in some places there are 2 Chrism Masses that go on because the dioceses are so big.
Mm.
So, but this Mass is specifically for 2 things. One, to bless and consecrate the oils that we use for the entire church year, and 2, to rededicate for the priests, to rededicate their priestly vocation with all present with their bishop. So this is it's one of my favorite liturgies that I sometimes, that now that I'm no longer doing them, can't seem to get to anymore. So at least folks like Catholic Television will at least play it for us. I was actually watching it, and I think it was Cardinal Sean who said in his homily, I like to refer to this Mass as the annual lube job and tune-up. Which I thought was very interesting, to say the very least.
And especially in his tone of voice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to have the voice down here. But he went on to give a very interesting and riveting 20-minute homily on how the priests need 2 places in their life. They need Nazareth and they need Capernaum.
Mm.
And because Nazareth is where you go recharge and where you are with people that you trust, and Capernaum is where you do your ministry. So I thought it was a very interesting insight.
And for a lot of them, they spend a lot of time on Golgotha.
Oh, if we're starting to use those terms. Well, and it is, I when I did Chrism Masses back in the 80s and 90s, they weren't without incident either.
Yeah.
In those days, it was the women who would come, and they'd be outside, or they'd march down the aisle, or, looking for their rights.
Oh, you know what? I remember seeing that, Joanne, as a kid. I would go and I'd see them hold their signs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And they would dress.
Yeah.
They would vest. They'd have stoles on. And in Providence, they actually would come down the aisle. Fall River, they stood outside, but Providence, they'd come down the aisle.
Right before my time, I think.
That was
Ken
before
said.
your time.
Right before my time, yeah.
Yep. So no Mass should ever be a lightning rod for anything like this. That we come together and worship, in praise and sacrifice. You don't need any of this other stuff. And these men should be able to come together every year and do this without incident.
Yep.
As far as I'm concerned. So, but the oils especially, this is where you get your oils from, and I was explaining it to my confirmation kids last week, that 2 of the oils are blessed, because their confirmation book said, and this is where they bless the chrism, and I went, no, they consecrate it. Because there's a big difference between blessing and consecration. So I had to explain to my kids what the difference was between the 2. And exactly what happens. And they were actually like, he breathes on it.
Yeah.
And pours something else into it. I said, yeah, that's why it smells the way it smells. I said, otherwise it's olive oil. They're like, really? I said, yeah. But, that's why it gets its name, because chrism, all the oils this has to happen every year.
Yeah.
Because people run out, oils get old, they never lose their sacrament. They're sacramentals, so they never lose their power. They just get old.
They just get rancid.
Right, and you want to dispose of them correctly.
Yes.
Burn them is usually a good thing.
And our deacon takes care of that.
I bet he does. But that's usually the first Mass of Holy Thursday, but the one that most people would be most familiar with would be the one on Thursday night, the evening Mass of the Lord's Supper.
Yeah.
And that is the official opening of the Sacred Paschal Triduum. Now, there are many ways to open this liturgy. And because there have been some traditions that have come about because of the oils and RCIA and all kinds of things like that. I don't know. I like a straightforward opening to me because it's you want it to be, you want it to set the tone. And the entrance antiphon sets the tone. We should glory in the cross of Christ, glory in the cross of our Lord Jesus Christ, in whom is our salvation, life, and resurrection, through whom we are saved and delivered. Now, glory in the cross, Dan Schuette's great piece, works for me. Lift high the cross is another one. That's the kind of stuff. What are you guys opening with? I know what you're opening with.
You know what I'm opening with. Glory in the cross.
Lift high.
Lift high. And what do you got, Stephen?
Same.
Yeah.
The same. Lift high the cross, yeah.
That's your focal point, whether it's before, during, or after, is the cross of Christ. So it's a wonderful thing. Now, do you folks have any other folks in the procession? Who usually goes in processions? Because I hate processions to nowhere. They have to have a purpose, and there has to be people in it that should be in it. So.
Well, this is the entrance procession.
Right.
So altar servers and clergy.
Well, I've seen some people bring in their foot washies.
No, our foot washies are already seated.
Okay. That's a good thing.
We're lucky we can get them to process up to the chairs. No, it's just for Holy Thursday. It's the regular, the servers, the cross, the whatever. I don't think the incense comes in. But
it can if it wants to.
It can if it wants to, but I don't think it does at St. Thomas.
No.
It obviously doesn't want to at St. Thomas.
It's never ventured an opinion here at St. Teresa's.
Well, I never mentioned. I mean, if you're gonna do a strict what comes in must go out, then yeah, it would come in because it's going to go out later.
Yes, it is going to go out.
Some people, because of the lovely, you bring it out and everyone coughs, will wait.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. If it deems it can, then it does.
No, ours comes in at the beginning, and
lit up.
Yes, and it's also I believe it also comes out during the consecration.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so it comes right at
we use it during the prep, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. No, I know what he's doing it at. He's doing it at the words of institution.
Yes, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, we use a lot of incense, and how I can tell is last Sunday I folded my sweater and put it in my bureau, and I took it out this morning, and I could still smell the incense.
Smells and bells. That's why they call this, the time of smells and bells.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get everything during Triduum. Everything's going to come out, even things you only see once a year.
Yeah.
Are all going to come out, and it's a good thing. And it's a very.
We even use the clapper.
Oh, we don't use the clapper because we don't use bells. We don't ring bells during consecration.
That's right. We don't.
This is our first year for bells. I never thought of that. I forgot all about that.
Uh-oh. The bells stayed on.
Ding, 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 ding.
It gets weighed many different ways.
Yeah.
There are folks that, if you're my rule of thumb's always been, if you're using Eucharistic Prayer 1, you have to use it, because it is so much part of the tradition that to not use the bells kind of says, eh. But any other time you use them, you don't use them, it's not. I don't think it's mandatory. Although someone out there could probably correct me.
Well, I'm not correcting you. I'm just wondering why you say that. Because your parish either makes a decision to use bells, which to me are totally superfluous, because you can obviously see what's going on.
Obviously.
Whatever Eucharistic prayer you're saying.
Right. But it's just that auditory thing, you know, and it because it is so woven into Eucharistic prayer one.
Well, and then when you start ringing bells at the epiclesis, it's like they're counterproductive, because then you're muddying up the words of the epiclesis and you can't hear it.
Oh, I agree. But some people don't even know that the epiclesis is one. And now, for those of you who aren't sure what the epiclesis is, it's when Father's hands, you know,
the calling down of the Spirit.
Father's hands comes over the gifts and he calls down the Spirit. Most people do not realize that that is just as important as this is my body, this is my blood.
But there are some places that ring a bell there.
There are, because that is the old prescription.
Yeah, well, in that case, it's counterproductive.
Okay. You can't hear it.
It's meant to call attention to it, but you can't hear what he's saying then.
Right. Exactly. No, I know. I'm just stating fact. Okay? I'm just stating stuff that...
And we haven't gotten off of Holy Thursday yet, folks.
I know. Put two liturgists in a room and see what happens. I
love it. I love it. I love it.
I know. Thursday night allows us to bring back the glory to God, which is a lovely thing. Oh, unless you're at the Chrism Mass on Thursday morning or before, because that is also prescribed at the Chrism Mass. And then, of course, we have the readings of
just a question. What does everybody do for the Gloria at Holy Thursday?
We haven't introduced a new one yet, so the one since the translation is massive renewal from the Golkelman Kaufman.
Stephen, what do you do?
We will use the James Chaponis melodic Gloria.
Okay. All right. We just use our chant Gloria that we use every Sunday, only because it's. I got enough stuff to rehearse.
Well, no, they know it well. Yeah, everybody.
Yeah, everybody.
I think it's true. I think I read someplace that the more special the celebration, the more familiar the music should be.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Bingo. I agree.
And that's why I want to learn a new Gloria, but one, as you said, I haven't had the time, and they sing this so well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, why mess with it? Yeah, I know.
Why mess with
it? Well, that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. We're doing the unaccompanied chant that we do every week. And the people know, I don't even have to put that in the book, but I do, because the people know it so well.
Right. Well, I like it, so that's perfectly fine. I don't have to play.
Yeah. Right.
It's also a good thing. But we also have let's see, we got down to the readings.
Yes.
Because I'm trying to keep all this. And these readings have an emphasis on service and communion. And what we're looking at is Exodus 12, which is the whole Exodus, why they do what they do, why is this night different than any other night.
The prescriptions for the eating of the Passover.
Yep. And then, of course, Psalm 116 is the psalm. Our blessing cup is a communion with the blood of Christ. The second reading is 1 Corinthians 11, which is an account of the words of institution. And then the gospel is John 13, which is actually the washing of the feet.
Yeah.
Because then we move into that type of service mode. So, participating in the body of Christ means you also have to go and do as Christ has given us an example. And the washing of the feet is always been a hot button item in our church recently, only because of different translations of rubrics.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll say it that way because there is the camp that takes it as written in the rubric 11, which says the men who have been chosen led by the ministers. Okay, and that is the camp that says, since Jesus only washed the feet of men, we must only wash the feet of men. Then there's the Pope Francis group, which I think a lot of us are in, which is it's the feet of
People.
people. Exactly. This is a difficult thing because it really has to go from what plays well in your area. But what is not prescribed, and I have to say this out loud for those of you who know those places, you don't wash hands.
No.
Right. Correct.
That's not the business.
That came up last night at our rehearsal. We had a rehearsal for the people who set the table on Holy Thursday and the people whose feet get washed. And that came up. Somebody said, isn't it just easier to wash hands? And Father John said, first of all, that's not what the ritual calls for. Ritual calls for washing of feet because that's what Jesus did.
Mm-hmm.
And the other thing is the washing of hands doesn't connote Jesus. It connotes Pilate.
Yes.
So why wash hands when the only person who's washing their hands is Pontius Pilate?
Exactly.
So, we wash feet.
Yes, exactly. Because usually stooping down and doing such an act was not the role of the head of the house.
No.
Usually sent your lowliest servant,
right,
wash the feet of all your guests. But for the head of the house to come and do that, that's the whole thing. We should never see ourselves as that high up.
Right.
Cannot stoop down and wash someone's feet. It's a very humbling thing. But it's a very humbling thing.
I think we lost Nancy.
Oh, not again. And we're going off the rails already, folks. Sorry about that. She'll be back in a moment, I'm sure. Because we're just going to keep covering territory.
All right.
And this is a day where the creed is not said.
Right.
Because, again, this is, if you really prescribe to Triduum, 3 days, one movement, then you've got time for it later on. Yeah. Okay? You don't need it. You don't need 3 different experiences. You're moving from an opening, which is big, and then moving into familiar scripture and homily, and then washing of feet, then our intercessions, and then, of course, we go into the liturgy of the Eucharist. And most people on that night a lot of them choose to do Eucharistic Prayer 1, which is what's called the Roman canon, and what's considered to be not the oldest, but the one that was used the most in our tradition for many, many centuries. So they tend to use it. In fact, as I look through because I have the missal in front of me in electronic form, and yes, I can have it because I have it in a specific app. I believe they use 1. Yep, they do. They actually put 1 in there and say if any nights you should be using it, this is the night you should use it. Mm-hmm. But they still choose whichever ones they want. That's up to them. But if you start hearing and you've never heard all these names at the Eucharistic prayer before, it's 1. If you're hearing about Matthias, Barnabas, Ignatius, Alexander, Marcellinus, Peter, Felicity, Petrua, and if you're hearing about all those people, you're in Eucharistic prayer 1.
And can I say something?
Sure. Please jump in.
I think that if you choose to use that Eucharistic prayer, it's been my experience where if you tear through the names, then why even bother?
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
I mean, sometimes, and again, it might sound like I'm picking on presiders, but
no,
it's like they just tear through the names, and it's like almost by their inflection, it's like, oh, we have a couple of more to go before we can move on.
Yeah.
Right, because you've got, you start with and there's 2 sections of it, because that's the way it works. This is the only Eucharistic prayer that actually has an upswing. Okay, an epiclesis. You get to the words of institution. Then as you come off of it, it's almost a second epiclesis about the angel taking, the gifts back, and then you've got a downswing. So it's a real swing. So you're going to get names on both sides.
Right.
So the first set of names are apostles and popes, and the second set of names are basically lay people, martyrs. That's the second set of names. So your first set of names.
But what Stephen's point is that
Right, that they go.
If you're going to tear through this stuff, then choose a different Eucharistic prayer.
Right, because they'll go, Mary Mother, the ever Virgin Mary, Mother of our God and Lord Jesus Christ, and Blessed Joseph, her spouse, and your blessed apostles and martyrs, Peter, Paul, and Andrew, James, John, Thomas, Philip, Bartholomew, Matthew, Simon, and Jude, Cletus, Clement, Sixtus, Northern. Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
No, say their names.
Yeah.
Say their names. They get their due. Say their names. No, it should be James.
If you're going to use Eucharistic Prayer 1, use it.
Use it.
Use it properly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
I agree, Stephen.
And I think most people do use it.
No.
No. Oh, okay. I'll find.
I have never heard my pastor use Eucharistic Prayer 1 on any occasion in 6 years.
And
so,
most of my pastors, that was the only time they ever used it.
No.
Was on Holy Thursday. So.
He never uses it.
Hey, and that's the prerogative.
Hey.
That's his prerogative.
He likes.
I think we use it for the high holy days.
Yeah, because again, it's the traditional. It's tradition. This is the time we bring out our tradition stuff and good, bad, or indifferent. And then we go on for the rest of the Mass. Now, at the end of this Mass, here's one of my. Remember I was talking last week about people don't know how to process.
Yeah.
This is another one of those times where we're asked to get out of our comfort zones and pews and actually move.
Yeah.
And people are afraid. Okay, they're just absolutely.
What we've done is we've sent invitations to all the Eucharistic ministers of the parish.
Okay.
And so whether they're Eucharistic minister at Mass or Eucharistic minister at for the homebound, and we asked them to come specifically for Holy Thursday Mass and to start the procession. So
I like that idea.
Yeah.
They're told that as soon as they see the cross bearer and the incense and the acolytes and everybody, that they're supposed to fall in behind the cross bearer.
Okay.
And therefore that encourages other people then to get up and do it too.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
I've had many crazy things happen at this point.
Well, we've been doing it this way for like 25 years and it works.
I've usually tried to get the choir to go first.
Oh no, the choir needs to stay with me.
In that case, yeah. How do you, Stephen, how do you do this? How do they do this at your place?
Oh, it's strictly the altar servers and the priest. That's it.
Oh, so your area of repose is in the church.
Yes, it's actually on the side altar. Because you have to remember, our church is small and it's old school setup.
So, there's not a place to process to, really.
Right.
No. So what he does is he has all the altar servers and the MCs and of course we still use the original parish umbrellina from 1917.
Oh my. Really?
Yes. Actually, my in-laws are coming this year, and my in-laws grew up at Mount Carmel. And my mother-in-law said to me, when I was a kid and sang in the choir, and so we're probably going back to maybe the 40s and 50s, maybe?
Yeah.
She said to me, we used to use this pink umbrella, and I said, oh, you're going to see it, because we still have it.
Oh.
And
so
the top is all tattered and torn, but but he still uses it, and he will come down the middle aisle during the Pange Lingua, and he will go to the left, back down the middle aisle to the right, and then up to the side altar of repose.
Oh wow. So this is not a full canopy. This is really the old umbrella. Somebody walks behind him.
Right.
Oh my
Correct.
goodness, I have not seen one of those since I was.
You know what, Joanne? I'll snap a picture and I'll post it.
Oh, please do.
We want to see it.
And you know what's funny? Friends of mine have come to the church, and they've never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
Oh my!
And,
No.
Yeah.
That would be new to me, Stephen. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was they actually were quite mystified by it because he goes very slowly to the point that we usually do 2 run-throughs of the Pange Lingo before we get to the Tantamerigo part.
Wow.
Because one year I tried the Ricky Minalo, the Ostinato Pange Lingua.
Yeah.
From his Beyond the Days
Yep.
collection, and
That's
it's
nice.
very beautiful. But after about 5 minutes of
ostinatoing.
the ostinato, I thought to myself, this was a bad idea.
Yeah.
So we just do the chant Pange Lingua, and you know what?
Yeah.
People sing it, so I use it.
Yeah.
I can't get
So-
my pastor to slow down for anything. He's just a real fast-moving person. So,
Yeah.
I know. But
Joanne, I'll snap a picture and I'll post it for you.
I want to see that.
Okay.
Of course, I'm playing in the background what we're going to be doing.
yes, that's what. We do the Dan Schuette's combination of Holy is God with the Pange Lingua.
Something for everybody.
Yes.
I love that piece.
I do too.
Although people get a little nervous with the bongos at other places I've been. They
We
would
don't
not
play bongos. We play a conga.
We've had everything. But remember, what somebody I worked for stole it from you. So that's how I came to like it. But you do this ostinato for a while just to kind of get people
moving and singing. Yes.
right, because you figure they can do a Treseguian without a problem.
Yes. And then you come in with a verse of Pange Lingua. And I'm sorry, we do it in English. For those of you who are offended, we do it in English.
That's fine.
Oh, Linda. Oh.
Yeah. Well, be offended.
I'm only busting you. I'm only busting. Yeah, it's like at my and on the other end of things at my church, that's all they've ever done is the Latin. So
and
right.
not at my church. So.
Yeah, exactly.
I've done both.
It's very parish dependent. Yeah.
It is. I've done both. I like it in either language. I think it sings better in the Latin, if you want my honest opinion.
Well, that's because that's what it was written for.
Right.
So of course it sings better in Latin.
Exactly.
But, we do it in English.
Some people are better off singing in English, and that's fine. So no points off. I'm so diplomatic right now.
Hey.
Well, because Joanne, it's true. Every parish is different. So
every parish is different.
Adapt.
I know.
Our altar of repose is in the back chapel, which is what usually is what my pastor refers to as the parenting room. What most people refer to as the cry room.
So where does it go?
It goes out. It goes out the right, up the right aisle, across the back, down the center aisle, through the sanctuary into the back chapel.
Oh, that's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds like fun. Sounds like fun. But that's it. Once that happens, and
then everybody we have adoration.
Right.
And then everybody leaves whenever they feel like it.
Right. And the Eucharist has been reposed. That's it. So there's no closing.
No.
A lot of people think, oh, that's the end. No, it's not the end. Because you got to pick it up the next day on Good Friday.
Right.
Okay. And in Good Friday, this starts without an opening, to which people, it's always funny because I watch people like, okay, where's the cross?
Yeah.
No cross, no real procession, because most of the people I've worked with, they just come in like 2 by 2.
Yeah.
And then the presider comes in and prostrates, and the deacon probably kneels because his knees probably, most of our older deacons.
No, they both prostrate.
Does he really? Oh,
yeah.
Cool. Definitely. As
They always have.
right, this is an ancient submission thing.
Yeah.
Okay, a lot of people just. I've had little kids. Is the priest asleep?
Yeah.
No, not quite. And then he goes up, doesn't say "Let us pray." If you ever notice that,
No.
he says "Let us pray," just continues. So that's where I'm. If done well, people realize that this is just one. They start to get the hint. Oh yeah, we really haven't started. We're just continuing from yesterday.
Right.
Problem in our society is when people don't attend all of them together, they get lost. Yeah. And I feel badly for that. But again, these are not holy days of obligation.
Which is
Church,
to me really strange.
No, I understand why. Because church just expects you to be there.
Yeah.
They think, well, of course you'll be there.
Why put an obligation on something that you're obviously going to be at? Yes.
Right.
That's not how most people think, unfortunately.
I know it isn't, but that's how they probably did this in the beginning. Of course, the first reading is Isaiah 52, the suffering servant. Psalm 31, Father, into your hands I commend my spirit, is the proper psalm. Hebrews 4 is the second reading about the great high priest.
Just a note, if you go to your services and you don't hear Psalm 31, but you hear Psalm 22, Psalm 22 is the common psalm for Holy Week.
Right.
The Triduum.
Exactly. Although I've never heard it done.
No, me neither, but it is. It's allowable.
Thank you. I love it when she corrects me.
No, I wasn't correcting you. I was just pointing out.
I know
that if you don't hear Psalm 31 and you hear Psalm 22, that's okay too, because that's the common psalm.
Right, and they didn't just not take it out of their book after Palm Sunday.
Right.
Exactly. And then, of course, there is the Passion. It's John's Passion for Good Friday. Always John, never changes, same. After the reading of the Passion.
How does everybody handle the reading of the Passion? Good Friday, can I ask?
We have students acting it out.
You have you have like a pageant or somebody reads?
I would, it's that there's not costuming, there's unified dress, but not costuming.
Uh-huh.
It's a reader's theater version of the Passion that was done by a local person.
Okay.
So if you do know who that is, it's very well done. The kids do a marvelous job with it.
I'm just asking. Stephen, what do you do?
We do the same way as we do on Palm Sunday.
You have three readers and the congregation?
Correct.
Is there any musical intervention?
No.
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 We do. We have a musical intervention. Rather than have the congregations yell, crucify him, we have there about 15 years ago, OCP came out with a booklet, and it was sort of a sung passion thing. Well, we weren't going to sing the whole passion, but
I remember that.
Yeah, there's 6 interventions of 3 verses of O Sacred Head Surrounded with text that mirrors what was just read, and then 3 interventions of Were You There?
Now I know where he got that one too.
Yeah, we form each other.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
We form each other.
Oh, I haven't done that in years.
And so the congregation, just when they're getting tired of standing there, they have something to do, and so it's 6 interventions.
Wow, that it really does work well.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting. Cool.
It just makes the reading of the. I mean, I've thought about doing other things with it, but why?
And see, I've done either Jesus Remember Me, or I've done Marty Haugen's In the Cross of Christ.
Well, that's what we use for stations.
Right, at different points. At different points, I would do that. So
And we use Jesus Remember Me on Palm Sunday.
right. Now it's just interesting because I for years have broken up the palm reading, the Passion reading, because people need, an acclamation kind of works.
Yeah, yeah.
But I've done the Passion readings in so many different ways, from narrator, Jesus, crowd type stuff to just 3 readers continuing along to something that these kids do. I mean, there's a couple different ways you can do it. I don't know anybody who's sung it all the way through yet.
No.
It is prescribed to be sung as well.
Yes, but I'm not going to do it. And I would be the only candidate in my parish. I prefer to give the parts to the people because I think they need it at that point.
Right. And I find it interesting that in the rubrics for Good Friday, it says the narrative of the Lord's Passion is read in the same way as on the preceding Sunday.
Yeah.
So whatever you do on Sunday, they're suggesting you do again on Friday.
We read it with 4 voices, only we just have more musical intervention.
I just didn't notice that before, which is very interesting.
Hmm.
That they're calling that interesting. And then after that, there's a brief homily. And then it's interesting, and the faithful may be invited to spend a short time in prayer.
Yeah.
Which on that day is extremely appropriate. And then of course we have the intercessions. The 10 let us stand, let us kneel. Has anybody ever done anything different with those?
We don't do let us stand and let us kneel.
You don't? Okay.
No.
Save my knees.
Yep. Everybody's knees.
We do, but unfortunately, it's really there's not enough time allowed, so it's more like everybody down, everybody up.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's more like a genuflection than a.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, and I'm being honest, after like the 5th one, it gets a little bit aggravating.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
you can do either one of the other two. You can either just
right.
let them remain standing or remain kneeling. And
Right. Traditionally, our Good Friday service has always been given to the assistant pastor, who is usually always still wet behind the ears.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's always been, I always sort of have to take my Xanax before the service starts, But this year, I don't know what's happening this year because we don't have an assistant pastor, so I'm assuming it's the pastor. And he'll be fine. But it's always been, everyone's kind of a little bit on edge when wondering what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Well, now
we only have a pastor, so we know who's doing it.
Yeah.
The same every year. So we go through the intentions, which are very specific for the church, for the Pope.
Kevin, Kyle has a setting for that I've used in the past, but
Love
I
that.
haven't for the last couple of years.
I love that one. I wish that could be retrofitted.
Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful refrain. Christ crucified, Jesus, Jesus hear our
Jesus,
prayer.
hear our prayer.
Wonderful.
When you say retrofitted, what do you mean retrofitted?
To the new
The new words. The new words of the prayer.
And-
the new words of the petitions. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And plus his tended to mush like 2 or 3 together. So they came out a little shorter.
Mm.
And before the change in the missal, you could get away with that. In fact, I had rewritten some. The ones that didn't appear there, I kind of rewrote them and put them in. But after the new missal came out, it was like, well, maybe we can just do the just do the refrain, and that will work on its own as well in there. But some people don't want to do it, and
We do half and half. The half is spoken, half is sung, and I just pointed them with a chant, and that's all.
when in doubt, chant. Then
When in doubt, chant. That's right.
Of course, then there's the adoration of the Holy Cross.
You know what tone we use, Stephen? You would remember. Remember when we did petitions, probably for Winter Sing. You did the high ones, I did the low ones.
Yes.
And then we sang together at the end.
Yes.
That's the chant I use.
And now, Joanne, I have a liturgy question because you're the head honcho on this thing. So for the Good Friday intercessions, is it permitted for someone other than the deacon or priest to do it?
I believe it's one of those, depending on who. Well, if there is no deacon, then someone else can read the petition.
But the priest has to read the prayer.
I believe so. Yes.
All right. I'm just curious. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That usually is how it works. If there is no deacon, you're right. It says blah, 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 right here. The deacon, if a deacon is present, or if he is not a lay minister, stands at the ambo and sings or says the invitation in which the intention is expressed. So you can sing it. Singing is, and since singing is first, that's the preferred way they'd like it to happen. Saying is second. So when you're looking, yeah, okay. So I just showed off. I knew that. All right, cool. Moving on to the Holy Cross. This is where I have many a deacon story on singing "Behold the Wood of the Cross," whether you're using Schuette's version or chant, depending on whatever. Deacons get so wigged out when they have to sing something.
And change 3 keys while they're doing it.
Our deacon doesn't do it. Our pastor does it.
Well, then there you go. Okay.
So our deacon doesn't get wigged out.
Right. And it's funny because it's funny. It says, it at least says, the deacon accompanied by ministers go to sacristy, they get the candles, carries the cross. That's covered, okay, through the church to the middle of the sanctuary. The priest standing before the altar receives the cross, then uncovers it and sings. He's assisted in the singing by the deacon or, if need be, by the choir. I like that. Either by the deacon or if need be. So at least they think that most deacons are like, although I must admit, watching the Chrism Mass from Boston, the deacon, a lay deacon, well, I shouldn't say a lay deacon, but a married permanent deacon.
Permanent deacon, yeah.
Chanted the gospel and had a wonderful singing voice. I was quite impressed. It's one of the few times I've heard a permanent deacon, number one, chant the gospel. Yeah. Number two, have a wonderful voice doing it.
Great.
So he must be great at the high holy days, because that's when you want them all to come out and
and do it.
Right. And then there's the adoration. There's the adoration of the cross by all of us, and that has attached to it many different things. I remember growing up listening to a lot of Latin, and we were past the Reform at that point.
Oh.
Still, I guess it was the reproaches.
Yeah.
Latin, and it was something that my people had always done. But my Portuguese people, their Good Friday is like the pinnacle. Vigil, not so much. It was Good Friday. I guess just they love angst.
Yeah.
But after everyone comes up and venerates the cross, everybody comes back for communion. And it's there, it's in the ritual, we do it. I wish they hadn't put that back in 1955. Because it's almost like, yes, I understand why they did it, so people could go to communion. They always have communion available to them, but something tells me on Good Friday, I don't mind
fasting from communion.
Empty for a day to try to understand this mystery.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys feel about that, but...
Yeah, I pretty much feel the same way. It's there and we do it. But I think, the absence of the Eucharist on Good Friday would say something too.
Yeah. Because no other sacraments are supposed to be celebrated on Friday.
That's right. And there's no confection of the Eucharist. It's just saved. You get it out of the tabernacle,
Right. But I know why Pius XII brought it back, but I almost wish he hadn't.
Yeah.
Because up until then, no one went, you did the veneration.
You did the veneration, and then that was the procession, was the veneration of the cross.
Yeah, it was the procession. It made sense to me. But I am not. I do
Yeah.
not make hats, and I do not, make
So
a
we have communion.
So we have communion, and then we just depart again.
Yeah.
And see now, in my tradition, in my heritage tradition, that wasn't the end. At that point, at the very end of this, out would come a coffin.
Oh, jeez.
Oh boy.
Now, not a coffin, but it was open, like on both sides, and in it was a life-size statue of dead Jesus.
Oh.
Okay,
And-
wrapped,
yeah.
wrapped in a shroud, and you get the guys lifting it up. My people love to process, which is why I don't have a problem processing. And then you had the women of Jerusalem, of one of which is Veronica. And Veronica has her cloth with her, and three or four times around the church, you hear the clackers. She gets up on a little stool and she sings in Portuguese or Latin. I learned it in Latin. Attend to my sorrow. Look what has happened. She opens up the cloth. There's the face of the bloody Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
The whole thing
I
comes
like that.
and everybody processes to the back of the church, the front of the church actually, and then there was a grave, like the tomb.
Jeez.
Put the body in the tomb, and everybody would just go home.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
I thought everybody did that. So when I left my little cocoon of Fall River and I went to an American church, I said, "Where's the procession?
Yeah.
What happened?" They're like, "We don't do that." What? Are you kidding me? I grew up with that.
That's paraliturgical.
I know it's paraliturgical now, but to me it was such an ingrained part of my Good Friday experience that I miss it.
In the church in the Italian section where I was baptized in Baltimore, they have the similar statue of Jesus in the tomb in a glass-sided case.
Mm-hmm.
But I have never been there for Good Friday, so I don't know if they ever do anything with it.
Oh, okay. How about your Italian heritage, Steve? Did they
I never heard of.
heard of that? And I know Nancy.
Italian. Yeah.
Nope. Nothing
Steven's
I've
a
ever
lot
seen
younger
or
than we are.
experienced. It's alien to me.
Well, you need to go to my Portuguese parish in Fall River on Friday night.
Now, Joanne, I know that the Portuguese parish in Bristol, next to me,
Mm-hmm.
did they? I want to say, did they have a procession with the dead Jesus? Does that
They
sound
might.
right?
Yeah, that's what I did. So they might be doing it too.
Okay.
Do they go outside?
Yes, yeah, because I remember my wife's aunt lives on the cross street, and I remember seeing them go by one year.
Wow.
We never went outside. We stayed inside of the church, and we went around like
Okay.
3 times.
Okay.
Almost like an Orthodox Eastern Rite type of thing.
Okay.
And we went around about 3 times before we put them away in the in the tomb. So,
I'm almost certain that St. Elizabeth's does that.
but to me, that ingrained such a sorrowfulness for Good Friday. I just remember that so vividly, and one day would like to go back and see if they still do it.
And I also remember there were a lot of people.
Yes, the church was always full on Good Friday, which is now the opposite of what we see. That the church is not full on Good Friday.
It's the least attended at our church.
Really?
Yep.
Really?
Well, I think part of it is we have stations at 3 and then the veneration in the evening.
Yeah.
So we have 2 services and the congregation is split.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we hope then that they come back on Saturday.
Yes, we hope.
And see, my Saturday Easter Vigil memories are all from my older years.
Yeah.
But my Good
Well, because
Friday
they didn't
definitely
used to
was
do
younger.
it in your younger years.
No.
Or they did it in private on Saturday morning.
I think when I was young, I was young in the 60s. So I remember that they had a Saturday night, but my parents would never. My parents would never go. Yeah, but I was really young. My parents would never go, so it was I'd do Thursday, Friday, jump to Sunday morning.
Yeah, I think most people did.
Right, and I think still a lot of them do that as well.
This emphasis on the vigil, I think, is relatively new.
Well, I hope it catches on because it relatively is a wonderful thing.
It's a wonderful thing, yeah.
But now, let me ask the burning question, and I wish
No, we don't do all 7 readings.
Oh, don't tell me that.
No, we don't.
We do.
Thank you.
We do. I got him to do it a second year.
You did.
Good for you,
Good.
Nance.
All
Did.
right. Good. How about you?
I traded, but I got it.
Uh-oh, now I want to know what you traded for.
No music.
Oh.
Stephen, essentially, I gave up one response.
Oh,
I said,
okay.
All right.
I said, I know you're worried about time. I said, I'd be happy to give. I said, we have a silence after reading 4. I said, we can have silence after reading 5.
There you go.
I said, but I really do think the people deserve to hear all readings. Okay,
Good.
he said.
Good. Good. That makes me happy
Excellent.
because I think you need to tell the salvation story.
Yeah.
You know, but
We hit the highlights.
you hit the highlights. Okay. Well, I'm okay. Hey.
Sorry. But, you know, the thing is, we've always, I can't remember any time where we've ever done, I think I got them to do 4. They used to only do 3.
Wow.
I got them to do 4. And they haven't budged from that. And then once our present pastor came, his emphasis is so deeply on the RCIA process
Mm-hmm.
that's what he wants to highlight rather than adding readings.
Right.
So
And we do 1, 3, 5.
I pick my battles.
Yeah. You
You know?
have to. You're right, Linda. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I pick my battles.
I know, but I'll always sit here and say 7 readings are, the one time a year.
It's the ideal. Yes, it is. But I'm picking my battles. I
will say, I'll add, growing up in Coventry back in the day, we would do all 7 readings and always had, because it was a large parish, always had many in the RCIA. And I want to say the vigil used to go on about 3.5 hours.
Nice.
Yep.
Yeah, and see, I'm one of those people that's like, I don't care. I don't care how long I'm there on Saturday night, man.
Right.
That works.
Right. We only do this once a year. Let's do it.
Do it right now.
It is called the mother of all vigils for a reason, right? So.
Right.
Yeah.
It is. But now, what time does it start?
8.
7.
Oh!
Wah, wah, wah.
Well, no, I was actually going with the game buzzer.
Oh, that's a terrible sound.
I know it is. Yeah, that bothers me.
Well, you know what I think, Stephen, I'll let you off the hook. Several years ago, when I was in the office, the time to start shouldn't have been before 8 o'clock. And that year, they allowed the cathedral, the mother church, to start at 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there you
that
go.
went on for a couple of years, and I thought, you know what? They've got to fix this because it's not right.
Yep.
And so this is what happens. Other parishes feel that, as they feel, that to start early is not an issue.
I have friends in the Midwest, and I think their vigil starts at 9.
Nice.
Wow.
Well, because in the Midwest it stays light much longer.
Correct.
Yeah.
But and Easter's early this year. Last year when Easter was so late, we started at 8 and there was still a glimmer of light outside.
But Nancy, you being in the Office for Worship all those years, I just think it's funny that a memo goes out and it very clearly states, because I've seen it.
Yeah.
No vigil in the diocese should start before 8 o'clock.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right.
And then you read
cathedral.
different people's bulletins, and it's 7:30.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And there-
absolutely. And I think part of the issue was they thought if it came from a priest, yeah, if it came from a priest, then it would be paid more attention to. Well, that worked, didn't it?
Yeah, that worked.
It didn't work at all.
My tongue is in my cheek.
I know.
Yes.
know
And
that.
I'm not going to say another thing. So.
See,
Bob,
that was one of the battles I went to the wall for, was to
Yeah.
have the vigil start later.
there you go. There you go.
Um,
No, seriously. And I have tried to impart on many of my pastors that you really need to look at it where it says the entire celebration of the Easter Vigil must take place during the night so that it begins
Good night. Yes.
fall and ends before daybreak. Now, that's a lot of room.
Yes.
Okay. And yes, what is sunset is 7:30 something, I guess. So 8 o'clock is a good time. 8:30 is better, but 8 o'clock I'll take.
Yeah.
What I can't understand is 7 o'clock standing outside at a bonfire and it's light.
And it's light. Yeah.
I'm sorry. It completely deflates the entire. It's like, okay, no one's going to go to hell for this, but if you're
Yeah.
trying to
But it
evangelize,
doesn't do anything for the symbolism.
not even that. If you're trying to evangelize it, this is the most important night of the year. We pull out all the stops, we do everything, and we want people to understand the light of Christ piercing the darkness.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The symbolism gets lost if there's no darkness to pierce.
Right, but some people just say symbolism, schmimbolism, But I'm trying to take it from the.
I think the real fear by some of them is that no one will come.
And that's false. I really do, but they can't get out of their fear.
Right.
That's the
Well, you
problem.
never know until you try it. And
Yeah.
and
Right.
if we go back to the whole thing sits on educating your people.
Right.
Why are we doing this? Why are we starting at 8 o'clock? That's kind of late, isn't it, Father? Well, we need to be in darkness because,
Yes.
and it's a matter of education.
Right.
Yeah.
Ex-
And I agree with you, Linda. That's an argument worth going to the mat for.
And I did go to
Yeah.
the mat for it, and
Yeah.
got 2 pastors ago.
Yeah,
Got them
yeah.
to change it.
Yeah, yeah.
There you go. And once you get it at 8, it kind of
Yeah. It stays at 8. Yes.
right. Exactly. So we have our fire outside or inside, depending on.
I have been complaining about our fire for years.
Uh-oh, here we go.
It is the piddliest fire you'd ever want to see. Well, we don't want to burn the church down. Well, for crying out loud, I can't even see it.
Well, here's the thing. Shouldn't the fire be outside?
Well, it should, but they keep saying, well, it's so windy out there. It's like, well, come on. Let's build a fire. I
want to pose this idea. I think one year we should all take off the Easter Vigil from all of our own parishes, and we'll all do it together.
Yeah.
Okay.
And holy moly, what a vigil that'll be, huh?
We'll do the Easter Vigil, all of us together. Yes.
It-
I could get our deacon to come with us.
yes, we could. Anyway.
Because I know, Linda, I can relate. I believe we use a hibachi.
Yes, I was going to say that.
And it's a piddly.
And
Excuse me,
it's
I
one of
was
those.
gonna say a
it's-
bad
and
word.
It's one of those hibachis that fits about 4 hot dogs on it.
Yeah.
Small.
No.
Oh yeah.
Well, this is a good time to bring in you can't make this stuff up.
The year I sat at a church that I worked at, and I'm literally facing down the main aisle, and the main door is there, and the fire's outside, right outside the main door, and one of those gusts of sucked air in and sucked the flames. It went through the entry room and came into the building, and as fast went right back out. I went,
Backdraft.
backdraft. That's the word I want. And it was like, for a second, the words went, oh my God, in my head.
Yeah.
But you don't have time to react because now it's back out and everything was
I have to say that I've seen things online of parish Easter vigils sadly not from the Northeast, but other
No.
places where everybody's outside.
Yeah.
In a place far from the church, really.
Yep.
And boy, I'll tell you, that's fun. That
looks
would be
great.
fun.
Yeah.
We're going to try that
I
this
just
year.
like to see the
Really?
fire. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, Stephen, you're in the loft. I'm right there, looking right down the hallway there, and they light the fire. It's like, where the heck is it? I don't see
My
it.
job for the Easter Vigil at the beginning is I pass down a corded microphone from the loft.
Oh no!
a 100-foot cord that one of the MCs that literally I have to pass it down over the side because
Goodness.
the problem we have is our church is concrete and it's brick, and
Okay.
no wireless microphone will go through concrete and brick.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And so we invested in I think it's a 150-foot cord
Okay.
Yeah.
that I have
Stephen.
hooked up
And
in the
it
choir
dangles
loft.
down from the loft.
And one year I almost hit a lady in the head with
Yeah.
it because it started to kind of sway a little bit. So,
Oh no!
That's funny.
and so now, very carefully, I lower it down and he uses it. And then when he's done,
No.
Altar Boy will kind of coil it up in the pew that's directly below the loft.
Uh-huh.
And when everybody sits, I
it back up.
I very slowly pull it back up again.
Oh no!
I love it. I love it.
The related duties.
Yeah.
I love
Funny.
it.
Yeah.
Funny.
Oh God.
But I will tell you, it beats not being able to hear what's going on.
Absolutely.
Oh, I understand. No. Totally understand that.
Yeah.
But I think that's I just the visual I would
Yeah.
like to have a picture of.
Well, it's funny because years ago we invested in 2 brand new beautiful wireless microphones, and
Yeah.
Father had them all. And I said, Father,
Zilch.
when you have a church with a couple of hundred people that's full of brick and mortar and concrete, and the receivers are in the sacristy, which is a distance away.
Yeah.
I've yet to find one good wireless microphone that works all the
It'll
time.
do that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. They have a problem going. They have a problem going through metal, more metal than brick. So there must be considerable metal inside of your.
Yeah, it's well, the Italians built it, so they used whatever they could, I guess. So
Right.
They hurricane-proofed it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is, talking about fires.
Yeah.
Having been a cathedral cantor, I saw the funniest thing in a cathedral once, where of course the hibachi, and it was a hibachi on very long legs, sitting in the middle of the, cathedral, because of course we couldn't go outside, because God forbid if you went outside, somebody'd probably shoot you. Hey, Fall River, what do you want?
Yeah. Well.
And so they're getting everything. I guess they were either going to go light the charcoal or something, and the charcoal flipped out the hibachi and into the pew
Oh, yay.
next to a person who was very
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I did that. Then there was the best one at rehearsal. Yeah.
Yes.
Nancy, at rehearsal at St. Teresa's, a former pastor of ours decided, because what he would use, what I don't know if you, I think we did it last year, but he would put the fire bowl in the font, okay, and have it coming out of the font. So the fire would be inside the church, but it was alcohol. So it was an alcohol fire on cotton ball. Okay.
Yep.
So
I think that's what we use, too.
he wanted to rehearse this to make sure he could light it, and took the lighter fluid and poured it on. I guess it was already lit. It was too small.
Yeah.
So he decided to add more lighter fluid, and all of a sudden you see this flame going right out into the church.
Yikes.
Burnt the carpet.
Oh.
Oh boy.
It's still there. I laugh every time I walk over it.
Yep, it burnt the carpet. So talk about talk about things that can happen at the Easter Vigil.
Oh yeah. Well, I was cantering the Exultet, and there were four servers standing behind me with lit candles. And, yeah. Well, all of
You're
a sudden
brave.
I started feeling
Oh,
very warm. And,
oh no!
I turned around, and there was the kid closest to me, kind of starting to nod off, and the candle was leaning into the bottom of my blazer.
No!
It's like, so I just kind of moved my foot and hit his foot because I was in the middle of singing.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like, please don't set me on fire. That could be an interesting. We moved the candle this year, so I'm not near any altar servers.
Oh, good.
Well, this will be my first year singing the new Exultet, so we'll see how that goes.
Nancy, just I have to tell you, it does not roll off the tongue very easily.
No, it doesn't. I've worked with it a little bit, and I know my certain spots that I have to go over because they don't roll well. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
The old one I did for 18 years, so it's not an issue. So I've got
Yeah.
the basic gist in the head, but this new one is the deacon's done it the last couple of years, and the pastor asked me to do it this year. And,
Which begs me to ask the question: if you did the old one, would anybody even notice and/or care?
they would probably notice, but I don't think they would care.
Right.
So
And Joanne, you didn't hear me say that. So
Hey, we're doing the Rock O'Connor.
We do Rock O'Connor's, and that's his translation.
And he was doing Tiny Bees
If you saw
before.
my Facebook, he loves it.
Yeah, and if he was doing Tiny Bees before Tiny Bees
Yes.
was fashionable again.
He was doing Tiny Bees before they were fashionable.
Yeah. So
yeah, I came across that. Oh, bees! I get to
Yes.
say bees.
So, yes.
the whole thing. You have this-
He brought the mother bee in, and the tiny bees, the workers, and he just went for everything. And I find his translation to be a very graceful and singable translation.
It is. It is. Believe it or not, it really is. I've done it myself. It's great.
Yeah.
So you have this fire, and you have this exalted, and you have
drums.
you have all
That place.
kinds of things. And then you have to put the candle nicely into the candle holder.
Candle holder.
At same cathedral on a different year. The deacon, transitional deacon, puts the candle in the candle holder, turns around to go to incense it, and all of a sudden, the leaning tower of candle has to come down. He reaches up, grabs it, sticks it back in the holder,
Oh,
and
geez.
continues.
Jeez.
Wow.
And, when you want to say you've almost seen everything,
Yeah.
Something else happens.
And
yeah?
you know what? It makes you wonder. When we've gone to the conventions and you see those big, huge Paschal candles. I mean, you more than one person would have to handle it.
Yeah.
oh yeah,
You know?
I would think
Yeah.
so. But I've seen those in parishes, and I've seen them break. There was one parish I was giving a talk, and it was Easter time, and they wanted to move the candle out of the way.
Oh.
This is truth. And so they did for our demonstration, and then they were going to put it back. As they were putting it back, it tipped and actually hit the ground, and it shattered.
Hey.
Shattered into pieces.
Well, we about 10, 12 years ago, we have a rehearsal at 10 o'clock on Holy Saturday.
Oh yeah.
And so the rehearsal's over, and I always bake cookies. And so we went into the sacristy to have our cookies, and the Paschal candle was leaning
Oh no.
against a closet door. One of my sopranos had put her purse in that closet.
Oh no.
Yes. Opened the closet door, Paschal candle, boom, broke right in half. So here's Al trying to find a Paschal candle for the vigil that night.
Oh no, I thought you were going to say, here's Al with his duct tape.
No. He can fix almost anything, but not a Paschal candle. So,
Duct tape and magic marker. There you go.
Yeah.
Really, tape, whatever.
No, we had to actually go out and buy a new Paschal candle before the vigil.
Oh my,
So,
scary.
yeah, that was scary. And
Yeah.
we'll never let her live it down.
Oh no.
She's not in the choir anymore, but
Oh shoot.
know,
So I'm gonna say, ooh.
no.
And
She's
of
not in the
course,
choir anymore.
and of course, since this is the mother of all vigils, if you are lucky enough to do 7 readings,
Yeah.
you get to hear everything
Yes.
from Genesis, from the beginning of the world, and how. So instead of, I mean, there's 7 readings. How do people vary it up?
Well,
But we don't do all 7. That's how we vary it up.
that's how you vary it up, yeah.
Those of you who do 7,
We
how do you vary it up?
do 7. We do Cooney's Exodus for the 3rd reading.
I love that one.
I do
so
too.
that the reading and the responses are involve the same. Now,
Yeah.
say a few prayers. My cantor, who is supposed to do that this year for the first time, is sick today.
Oh, geez.
So let's hope for her recovery.
Oh,
It's great. My cantor for Thursday has to go into her father in New Jersey now because he's very, very ill. I lost her. I mean, they're dropping like flies.
oh,
We don't respond to a couple of the songs, to the readings with psalms.
that's okay.
So that's kind of how we shake it up a little.
Yeah, I've been known to do Cooney's the Genesis reading because I love that one. I love the Genesis reading from Cooney as well as the Exodus reading. I've scripted them a little bit differently where I've had 2 readers or, simultaneous reading, or I've done all kinds of things to get people interested. So it's not just reading Psalm prayer, reading Psalm prayer, reading Psalm prayer.
Yeah, we do the Genesis reading, and it's shared by two or 3 people, and then we'll sing Psalm 104.
Okay.
And then we'll do the Cooney Exodus Canticle,
I love that.
and then we do 5, and then we sing. I think it's Paul Inwood's "We Shall Draw Water Joyfully."
Mm-hmm.
I know that.
Yeah.
We break the readings up amongst 3 readers, much in the same way that we've been doing the A-cycle Gospels, Joanne.
Oh, okay.
So the readings are scripted for 3 readers. My husband always gets to be God, so
No, I'm not saying anything else.
I know. My husband always, every year, they schedule Pat, and he's God in the creation reading.
Love it.
And I would do either the Genesis or the Exodus of Cooney's because they're both wonderful.
They are.
But we do such a big number for the Exultet that I don't want to overkill.
Right.
So basically,
And that's why, and Joanne, that's why I would ask you, sorry to interrupt, but if you did the Genesis, would you not do the Exodus? Is it one or the other, or?
It depends. I've done both.
Okay.
I've done both together in the same liturgy. But then again, I've done it in a couple of different ways. I've either done it straight all the way through, or I've done it where you just use the refrain of it while I have 2 lectors, male and female. There's a reason why I do male and female for the first reading a lot of times. But I always did Exodus because people want to hear, horse and chariot are cast into the sea.
Boom.
Hear that. It's become part of a lot of people's tradition. So I would never take it out. So it depends on what you want to do with other things. My only thing that I get nervous about is when people do come to the water for the 5th reading. It's like, no, you can't do that.
We used to, but I stopped it.
Yeah.
When I inherited the job, they used to. I stopped it.
Yeah, you can't because it's not, because you miss.
It's not a psalm.
Right. So if you do, it's like, and then there's the whole thing you could do, come to the water and then seek the Lord at the same time. Like, no, let's not get that innovative.
Yeah.
That gets a little strange. But people, I think, have good intention when they want to break up the monotony of reading Psalm prayer, reading Psalm prayer, reading Psalm prayer. Well,
One of the other things
No,
I'm doing is I brought in one of my teenage cantors to do the last psalm. So having non-adult up there. Oh, that's a different voice. Okay. Oh, yeah.
yeah.
That's one of the other ways musically that I'm.
Because we don't do 7. We only have that pattern for 4 times, so
Right.
they can stand it for 4 times.
Yeah, that's fine.
There you go. Anyway, so of course the glory to God comes at the end of that whole scene.
And then we do a big Gloria then.
Yeah, there you pull out the bells, the whistles, the whole 9 yards. Let me ask one other question. When do your lights go on?
For the Gloria.
Done.
And I know that's not what it says in the book, but that's when our lights go on. Because I don't care what it says in the book at that point.
Oh,
It's more effective when it goes on at the Gloria.
Okay. Anybody else want to take a step?
We're vigiling, people. You
Same
don't
as Linda.
vigil in broad daylight.
Same as
Okay.
Linda. At
Steve.
the Gloria.
When did
Yeah, same thing at the Gloria.
really?
Yeah.
Matter of fact,
It
what
just
I
makes
do,
sense there.
what I do is after the prayer, after the reading number 5,
Mm-hmm.
I do some sort of bombastic
Ooh.
fanfare on the organ, and that's when the lights come on.
Yep.
And
Same here.
finally, when all the lights are on, I do the fanfare in the same key as the Gloria, and then we go into the Gloria.
Okay. I go back and forth on it, if you want my honest.
Yeah, I know what it says in the book, but hey, it just seems to me it makes more sense to do it when you do the Gloria. And then the lights come on and you see all the beautiful Easter flowers, and we vigil in the dark. So.
And you know why we vigil in the, those of us who tend to lean on that side of the fence is because of the format of the Easter Vigil in ancient times. It made more sense because people always say, well, wait a minute, you do readings and then you do the Gloria. Doesn't the Gloria come first at a regular Mass? Well, this whole section would have been done in a separate place. It's another one of those separate place things.
Yeah, we don't have a separate place.
You got the big bonfire, you got the big candle, you do your thing there, then the candle processes into the church with all the elect and stuff so that you can start the Mass, and that's why the Gloria is where it is after the readings.
Yeah.
But we don't do that now, so it gets lost in translation.
Yeah.
So some people, the ritualists will say, well, of course, when the candle gets put in the thing, you turn the lights on. Other people will say, no, you wait till the readings are done and do it at the Gloria when you ring the bells.
Yep.
So.
It makes sense to hit all the senses at the same time.
Right. And I just sit there and say, I'll fight for the time of the Mass before I will fight for.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Yeah,
when you put the lights on.
Absolutely.
9 o'clock vigil start, you can have your lights any place you want them.
Yeah.
That, to me, if I'm doing the order of preference, 9 o'clock start, 7 readings. Lights, not so much.
Yeah.
And then we get into all of the RCIA stuff where you can baptize, confirm everybody. Now, how many do we've had, how many, I know we've had 2 people this year.
We have 2 baptisms and then the 3 confirmations.
Okay.
We have 3 baptisms, 6 confirmations, and 6 first communions.
Wow. Okay.
Oh yeah, we have the 2 first communions too.
Yeah. And Steve?
Yeah, I think we have 3, 3, and 3, I think.
That's the sign of a healthy church.
Yeah.
In all seriousness, that is the big sign of a healthy church. If you've got folks that are coming into it, you're doing something right to attract them. So that's
I have a little story about one of our elect.
okay.
Last weekend he had to work a lot, and so for some reason he thought we had a Sunday evening Mass. God forbid, but we don't have a Sunday evening Mass. And so he called his sister and he said, "What do I do?" And she said, well, another local parish around here has a Sunday evening Mass. So she went to the other local parish, which shall remain nameless, but Stephen, you know which parish I'm talking about. And
and
so,
for the record, I was not there.
Okay.
Okay, I know where you are now. Okay.
He went to this other parish in a galaxy far, far away. And,
About 2 minutes down the street. Yeah.
And so I was talking to him last night at the rehearsal, and he goes, "Gee," he said, that was awful." He said it was like they were just going through the motions. And I
Aw.
said, "Yeah." I
Wow.
said, "So come here, you come here to St. Tom." And this isn't, he's not even baptized yet, but he can see the difference.
Of
Wow.
course you
Wow.
can. I mean, you could see it. Yeah.
Wow.
He said, "It's like they're just going through the motions over there." He said, "Here," he said, "you get the feeling that people care about you."
And, you know, he really needs to stand up at Pentecost Sunday and tell people that.
Yeah, right.
You know? He needs to prophesy and he needs to witness, and, you know, that what you do matters.
Exactly.
And that's why a lot of us spend a lot of time, especially with these rituals,
Yes.
because what we do matters.
Yes.
Whether it's Easter Sunday or the 17th Sunday of Ordinary Time.
Exactly.
What we do matters.
And that's what keeps me going week after week.
Yep.
Sometimes it's harder to see than others.
I know.
It's true. Very true.
Yep.
But that's what, you know, that realization, I get enough affirmation that it keeps me going all year. Because sometimes, some Sundays you go home and you think, why am I bothering, you know? And then there's other times where you are very, very aware that what you are doing matters.
Yes. And the thing is, too, is that Saturday night should also bring you to Sunday morning. Now, I know a lot of people will say, Saturday night, that's it, I'm done.
I'm done, yeah.
It can be. But it is nice also to go on Sunday, you know, with the rest of God's creation, to be able to, it's the finishing touch. You get to hear the sequence, you know, which is a lovely piece that it's only done once a year.
Once a year.
Talking about Mary going to the tomb and what did you find, and, you know, the whole thing, and getting to hear Psalm 118. Well, you hear it at the Easter. I shouldn't say that.
Vigil, but yeah.
The vigil too. You hear all three verses, but you hear it at the vigil. And it's just a nice way to tie it all in.
Yeah.
These days are so important. And if I was ever sick and had to stay home during these days, I think I'd actually have, you know, ajna.
Yeah.
I'm so used to being there in the middle of it. You know,
it's funny because I said to Beth, you know, various people, they're going on vacation or they've already left, and I said to Beth, you know, facetiously, I said, "Geez, you know, we're doing something wrong." And my wife, she's like the voice of reason. She goes, "But Stephen, this is what you do for a living."
Yeah.
And seriously, I can't picture you in Disneyland.
Yeah.
You know, on Good
During
Friday.
the Triduum.
Yeah.
You know, and she said to me, "Wouldn't you feel strange?" And I said, "You know what? She's right. She's out, but I just get a little jealous sometimes. That's all." So.
Well, and it's not even that. In lots of the parts of the country right now, people are going on spring break.
Yeah.
And they're taking off, and they're not going to be in churches, or they're going to try to duck into Our Lady of Disney, and, you know, for whatever they can on Easter Sunday morning, and they miss out so much on what can happen once a year.
Yeah, really.
You know, but it's priority.
Yeah, I'm all for vacations, but I'm going on the 15th Sunday of Ordinary Time. I'm not, you know, I'm not going.
Well, I
on
mean, it just goes to show you that for the majority of people,
Right.
it's not in the forefront of their mind.
No.
So,
No.
And
Not at all.
I don't know what we can do to keep promoting it other than to keep doing what we do and do it well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if we continue to do it well, word spreads like that elect. You know, he didn't know the difference until he went somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right.
And went, yikes.
Yeah.
You know? So quickly, since we have gone way over time.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, and I really do have to go to church.
Speaking of which,
Y'all.
Speaking of church.
Do you have any kind of Holy Week or Triduum memory that sticks out in your mind that may have made a difference in your life? I had to get real dark at the end of it, the
thing is, Joanne, they all do, because while the prayer remains the same, the ritual remains the same, we are different every year.
That's right.
So every year, the Triduum means something different to me. This year, praise God, nothing terrible has happened. So, to me, all right,
Okay.
there are some years where terrible things have happened during the course of the year, and I bring that with me to Triduum.
There's something.
Some years I can't even sing, and that poses a real problem. I start to sing something and I get filled up because of what has happened over that year.
Right.
And so fortunately I have my right hand people there, Julie and Tim, whom I can look at and say, sing this.
And
You know?
I think for me, the problem I have, and I'm going to try to work on it more this year, is, and I think you all being musicians can agree, we get so wrapped up in the details and waiting for the next cue that there have been some years, and I admit it, the Easter Vigil's done, and I'm like, what just happened?
Yeah.
It's true.
Because you can miss it. So I have to say, the choir is prepared, the musicians are fine, so hopefully I can get a little bit more into actually what's going on than versus just, completing
being the ringmaster.
each task. Yes.
Nancy?
I think a couple of years ago we had a gentleman in the choir that has since moved down to Florida, but he came up to me after Good Friday, and we were out down at St. Christopher's Loft, and that's not a usual spot for me. So it's compact, it's chaos at times, but controlled chaos. And I guess in his eyes, I was the one controlling the chaos, not even realizing how it could look to somebody. And after Mass, he says, thank you, or after the service, thank you so much. I said, for what, George? And he said, because you kept making sense of all of this for us to enable us to do our ministry. And it was an eye-opener for me, because I just, sometimes you have so much going on, as Stephen said, Linda said, it sometimes can be a job, or it could make things can be overwhelming. And so somebody opened my eyes to realize that it is a ministry to ourselves as well as to those we serve.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. I've always found that the more prepared I am before Holy Week, the better the Holy Week is.
Sure.
That I can step out of the hat that I wear, whether as liturgist or whether as musician, and just be. And I think that's where, it's hard, Stephen. I get you completely where, you're trying to run 3-ring circus and, you forget to pray yourself. I think if anything, musicians, liturgists, anybody who's a professional at this needs to put themselves into the 3 days a lot more than anybody else does.
Right.
Like prepare for it, be ready for it, and then just let the Spirit go where it is going to go for everybody.
Yep.
Because it'll all work out. I mean, there have been empty pitchers, there have been Paschal candles that have been left, books of the gospel that have been left behind.
There's the 13th apostle that appeared last year.
Yes. You have 12 apostles and one extra shows up.
Yes.
I
couldn't figure out why everybody was just standing around. It's like, sit down and start washing feet. And there were 13 people there and 12 chairs.
Yep.
Somebody misunderstood.
And those are the times that will drive someone just absolutely to drink. And other times you just say, okay, fine, let's just deal with it.
Yes, let's just keep singing.
Why there's 13 up there and I don't.
I always have an extra piece of music.
No, but I
somewhere.
would like it. We're almost finished.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I think we are just about.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we are.
I think we are.
If anybody's still listening at this point, you deserve a medal.
Well, the thing is that with podcasts, and most of you know this, when you're tired, you pause.
Yeah.
You come back later on and continue. So this is going to be one of those podcasts where you may need to come back later on and continue. But hopefully we have brought some of our own, flavor to this wonderful time of the year that we all love so much, give you a little bit of insight of what you've just been through, and know that we're very thankful to do the work that we do. I think I speak for all of us when I say we are extremely blessed and thankful to do the work that we do. Yeah, we may struggle with it some days, and we may
groan and complain, but it's a privilege.
It is an absolute privilege to do this, just as we do the podcast for all of you. So please share with us your memories of Holy Week and Easter Sunday this past year by sending us some email, because I've got to do this kind of stuff, to mondaymorningcatholic@gmail.com. You can put up your maybe some pictures you take, because everybody's got a camera nowadays.
Yeah.
Up on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Monday Morning Catholic. You can go to the mondaymorningcatholic.net site and put your reflections in our comment box, or you can call us at the voice feedback line, 774-955-0659. We'd love to hear what you all did. And by the time you see us on the second Sunday of Easter, or Divine Mercy Sunday as it's now called, we will probably have more stuff you can't make up. But we will also be, tired and extremely glad that we had the privilege of serving again for another year at the Lord's table at Triduum. So for Nancy Smith, Steve Romano, Linda Reed, and myself, Joanne Mercier, thank you very much for being with us. God's blessing on you on this Easter season, and as always, ciao for now.
God's love is forever. Let the house